Hi, I'm Aldo. Welcome to Plays the Thing, the channel where I share my experiences prepping and playing tabletop role playing games. Today, however, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to pay tribute to somebody who's passed away recently, Helma Lindow. Now, Helma is not anybody that I actually really met. I had some minor interactions with her online, but she's somebody that I admired a great deal as a person and as a role player, and somebody who I felt connected to through this channel, but also through some mutual friendships. So maybe I should start with those mutual friendships. Well, it's a friendship, really, and that is Ron Edwards, the person who wrote Champions Now, who wrote Sorcerer, who's done so much in terms of promoting and celebrating role playing and studying and exploring role playing. And he and I became friends back when Champions Now came out, and I was able to start a conversation with him about it, and then that turned into just more conversations and more friendships, and more importantly, in terms of Helma, I got connected to his online space, which is Adept Play, which is a site that is dedicated to exploring and celebrating TTRPGs. And there's a very vigorous discussion about these topics that happens there, and there are a lot of videos that are posted of different types. Many of them are actual plays. And it was there that I really first encountered Helma, through these videos. When I was curious about how Ron engaged role playing, the first video that I tuned into was his RuneQuest game. And I'm not 100% certain of this, but I think that might have been, if not Helma's first role playing experience, it was an early role playing experience for her. So she was very new to it. Somebody who, to my understanding, only started role playing 5 or 6 years ago. This is a woman who was in her 50s when she started, if I'm not mistaken. What is remarkable about Helma as a gamer was how quickly she took to it. In that RuneQuest game, you could see her maybe just slightly trepidatious because she doesn't know how to game and she's with other gamers, but it's only very little. She's also curious and delighted and enthusiastic and creative. It was a real joy to see her take to it in that way. And then I started watching her engage in some of Ron's other videos that deal with different aspects of role playing, authorities in role playing or other different aspects of role playing, where he'd gather together groups of folks to brainstorm about things. And again, Helma was there, a relatively new gamer who, whenever she spoke up in those, it was meaningful and profound. And over the course of watching her in action, you could see how she was, in many ways, the heart of the community that Ron has built over on Adept Play. Another notable actual play that I saw her in was her first game mastering effort, and that was in playing Primetime Adventures, which has players kind of assemble and then play through a television series. I don't have the name of the series that they played through, but it was a delightful and masterful exercise in game mastering. Right from the pitch, right? Like the players were pitching different ideas to her as producer as to what the game would be about, what the TV show would be about. And Helma took a couple of ideas, combined them, and said, this is what we're going to do. And then with this quiet and gentle confidence, she launched into the activity and just delighted in what the others were bringing to the table, and was really masterful about just not rushing things, not looking for the big climactic moments or anything like that. It was just exercise and letting the playing develop quietly, slowly, organically, and then seizing on the opportunities to make it come to life. And I guess that's where I can pause a little bit to think about what Helma brought to gaming. And that is that she delighted in systems and exploring the activity of gaming and all of that, but she was very much people-centered. You could argue that all gamers are, but I do think that us gamers who are also often fans get wrapped up in all of these kind of industry debates and system battles and this and that and the other, and posture a lot in terms of these kind of fan identities. And sometimes I think we lose track of what really matters, and that is that gaming matters because a group of people got together to engage in this creative activity as a group, to produce something, to engage in something creatively. Having that work involves this act of being engaged with one another, this act of listening and responding and dancing and playing with the other in a way that produces an effective fiction. Sometimes, and sometimes not. It just produces an experience. But beyond that, it produces community, and it sees people in healthy fellowship, delighting one another. In watching her in action, she took care of others in that space and contributed in kind. So, why am I doing this tribute to her? Well, I didn't really know Helma, but I knew of her through Ron, and I admired her very much. And I always wanted to game with her. I always imagined, who knows, maybe someday there'll be an online game and I'll get to play with Helma and whatnot. If you know my channel, you know that my tagline is, I wish you good health, I wish you good cheer, and I wish you good gaming, and goodbye. And I developed that statement because my friend Dan Hupp, who is one of the players in our games, had developed liver disease and needed a transplant. And we thought he might not make it. There was at least a good chance that he wouldn't make it. When I was speaking to the camera and speaking to the community out there, and I knew Dan was listening, he's one of the most loyal folks to this channel who watches regularly. I knew he'd be listening. And so I was always speaking to Dan. And I was also speaking to my friend Adolfo, all the other members of our group, and other people in the gaming community who I thought might be tuning in who were going through health issues. I was always kind of directing that comment to them. It wasn't just something that I would say, it's something that I really feel. I mean, we're getting to an age now where health is becoming more and more and more of an issue for a lot of us. So I mean that. Good health, good cheer, good gaming, which helps to pull us all together in community and all of that. And when I learned about Helma's illness, I had already been doing that for a little while. And so Helma always popped into my mind from that point on. Whenever I would deliver that line, I was speaking it to Helma. I didn't know if she'd ever hear it, but she was one of the many faces, and one of the more prominent faces by that point, that would pop into my mind when I would say that. But afterwards, Ron shared with me that she actually watched this channel regularly and with great attention. And that meant that she heard me. So I'm honored that she watched it and enjoyed it. I am supremely grateful for the contributions that she made. I'm not lucky enough to have called her my friend in the sense that I didn't know her, but if we think of gaming as a folk activity, which is something that I've heard Ron speak about several times, gaming at its best is a folk activity. It is at its strongest and its most meaningful and its most resonant when it is kind of just people doing their thing, irrespective of editions and publications and industries and all of that. And that's where it really matters, and that's where it really comes to life. Then, if I couldn't call Helma my friend, I can at least celebrate her as a folk hero. Thank you, Helma. Thank you, Helma, for your good cheer, for your good gaming, for your good humanity, and for everything that you've done for your community and your closest friends.